You're listening to the Author Inside You podcast, a weekly podcast designed to motivate you to finish writing a book, choose a publisher, and build an audience. Keep listening if you're looking to get propelled into the next chapter of your life. And now, it's the Author Inside You podcast.
Hello, I'm Matt Rafferty.
And I'm Leah. Welcome to the Author Inside You podcast.
Today, our guest is short story author Tanya Todd. Tanya has been published in a number of books, including Tales from the Silver State 4, Author Portraits LV, and Spooky Story Night Volume 4. Welcome, Tanya. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Well, Tanya, it seems like you have a very busy life, but can you tell us a little bit right now about the Dime Grinds program?
Yes, Dime Grinds began as a coffee shop author meet and greet, and we would meet in a coffee shop. 3 authors would come in and bring their works. In fact, it started out as 2 authors, but we realized we really have time for 3. So they get 30 minutes. They get to share a little bit about their journey. They read from their work, answer questions, and then they get to sell their books. And the coffee shop would sell coffee for 10 cents a cup. And that's how we got the Dime Grinds aspect of it.
Yeah.
So how did you get a coffee shop to agree to do that?
Initially, a coffee shop approached us and asked us to do this program. And then 2 months into the program, the coffee shop shut down. And so I had already scheduled people several months out.
Sure.
Because once I get going on a project, I don't sit around and beat around the bush. I get on it. So I had people booked several months out, and we did 2 at that coffee shop. And then the 3rd month, someone went to visit the shop a week before our event and said, I don't know if you know about this, but that place is closed.
1 week.
So I had 1 week to scramble and find someone who would A, host us, and B, agree to the 10-cent coffee. And I found Joe Max Coffee, and I called them up, talked to them on the phone, and they're like, sure. Like, I don't think you understand what I'm asking. Let me just come in and talk to you. And I get there, and I'm wearing a Star Wars shirt, and they have all these Star Wars pictures all over the place. And I was like, all right, I think this was meant to be.
Right. That is a wonderful story.
You felt right at home there.
Right. And then unfortunately, they shut down a few years later. Just that one location, there was another coffee shop that kind of blocked them. The parking lot blocked them, and their business blocked them. So their one business shut down. And then we moved to Grouchy John's Coffee, and they were wonderful. They also agreed to the 10-cent coffee. These people have to agree to our stipulations. And then the pandemic hit. And so we went virtual at that point.
Oh, well, how's it going virtually?
We have fewer people attending. We used to have around 30, 35 people coming in. Now it's more in the 20 to 25 range, but it's international. We have people from all over the world joining us now.
So, Tanya, we'll put a link to your Facebook page and to the Henderson Writers Group Facebook page on our show notes so everybody who's listening can tune in also for the next virtual event.
Yeah, sounds good. Because, now we're able to bring in authors who aren't just local to Las Vegas because they can just join us over Zoom.
It sounds like a fun event.
It really is.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So now tell us a little bit how you got into writing.
It came to me in a dream. I woke up just in the middle of the night and had this crazy story in my head. It was like I saw what happened, and it was just so cool. And I figured I should start writing it. And I don't know why. I hadn't been writing in years. And so I did. I started writing a little bit. And then pieces of that story weren't quite sitting right with me because the characters from my dream were existing characters in the world. Someone has the license on those characters. So I was just writing the story for myself. And these different elements kept coming into play, and I realized that's not these characters. So I would move it to a side sheet because it was still interesting, but that's not this. And eventually that side sheet took over and with so many more words that I stopped working on the little side fan project and just wrote my own story with completely different people in it.
Wow.
And at the point where I got to 200,000 words, I thought, maybe I should try to figure out what I'm doing here. A, I think this is more than one book. And B, I think I need some help. And so I joined Henderson Writers Group, and they helped me learn the basics like POV and how long different genres should be, and just, going through and giving me feedback and guiding me, helping me figure out what I'm doing with this.
Great. And so what's the status with your first story that came from your dream?
Well, once I divided it into separate stories, once I realized, okay, this needs to be this standalone story that leads to this. So it's really a serial, because a series is when it's all the same world, but it's not necessarily the same characters. And so mine is a serial that's the same main characters throughout the whole thing. I started cleaning up really revising the first one, started querying it. And as of last November, I signed with a literary agent. And so on my list of things to do this year is to get that ready to go out on submission.
Well, congratulations. That's wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very excited about it because I love that story.
Oh, that's great. And to say it all came from your dream, that's pretty neat too.
Right.
So tell us about getting published in the short story books that we mentioned earlier.
The first one was a different writing group, Las Vegas Writers Group. They used to do an annual anthology, and the theme was redemption. So that's kind of like a writing prompt, and it had to take place in Nevada.
Okay.
And so I started writing it, and for that one, I usually know the end of a story before I really start working on it, but this one started revealing itself slowly to me, and the character took over and just started telling me what happened, and I just went along for the ride. It was like, really? And then what? And then what happened? And oh my gosh, how did I not know this? There are kind of some surprises in that story. I don't want to ruin it because part of the fun is determining when you figure out the secret.
Okay, pretty cool. So it sounds to me, but maybe I'm wrong, writing comes easily to you?
Oh, I wouldn't go so far as to easily, but I'm not someone who's had to deal with writer's block. I have too many stories to tell. I have so many things that I can't possibly get them all down. But when you have to sit and work on it, there are still times where you struggle with the scene. You fight your characters. You try to tell them what is going to happen, and they argue and tell you, well, that's not how I would react to that situation. And so, no.
Do you have a daily routine, or is it just fly by the seat of your pants?
I'm someone who works on a schedule. And so every night before I go to bed, I will write out my list of things to do and then allot an amount of time to it for the next day. This way I wake up knowing what I'm going to do for the day. And I don't have that wasted time wondering what will I get accomplished, or, the time you waste when trying to make your schedule the same day.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, this started with NaNoWriMo. I knew I wouldn't be able to do all 50,000 words within that month because I am so busy, but I still got in the habit of writing every day, every morning, get that out of the way first, and then whatever else I do in the day is gravy.
Great.
Wow. So how long do you write each morning?
I write usually until 9:30 or 10 a.m. I wake up at 6:30.
Wow.
That's a big chunk of time. That's fantastic.
I'm not quick in the morning. I'm not a morning person, but you get fewer distractions if you start early.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's certainly a different feeling early in the morning.
Right. Nobody else is around. No one's knocking at your door. Your phone's not ringing. No one's bothering you on social media. You're just free to write. The worst thing I have to deal with is my cats.
So going back to the short stories, how did they find you?
Well, I was part of Las Vegas Writers Group.
Right.
And so I submitted when they put their announcement out. I submitted to them.
Oh, okay. So then what was the process like? Like how long did it take you for them to get back to you? And
it took a really long time. In fact, I remember being at the Las Vegas Writers Conference on the day that it was announced whose stories were in there. And because they met on a Thursday and I was at the conference, which began on a Thursday, there was this stress of, I've waited all this time and I'm not going to be at the meeting to find out who the winners were. But I knew someone who was going and she let me know.
Oh, that must have been a great feeling.
Yes. And then with authors' portraits, the person who was organizing that asked me to participate in it. And for that, they had this great idea where they would take pictures of the different authors and so create a portrait of each of them, and they would each submit a story for this anthology. And so when you go through the book, you see a picture of, like a portrait, a professional photo of the person, and then a short story to go along with it. And then they held a gallery opening with everybody's portraits, and somehow I was selected as the person to read for the gallery opening. It was a very exciting night.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
It sounds like the writing community in Las Vegas is very active.
It really is. And they're so supportive and wonderful. There's no competition between the different writing groups. We're here to help each other.
And also, it sounds like they have some creative ideas. I really like the portrait idea.
Yeah, it was really neat.
So was the photographer there at the gallery? Oh.
Yes. And those were, the portraits were for sale. It was really nice.
Oh, the portraits were for sale too. That's pretty neat.
Wow, this sounds like a great event.
It was Alpha Voyage Gallery. And, I ended up having a relationship with that gallery because of that. They helped me with a charity event last year. I'm going to ask them to do the same this year because, they need more recognition for all they do to support the arts. I'm sure that they had a challenging year, being as, everyone had to close everything. I would like to continue to support them because they didn't have to be so supportive to us, and they were.
Well, in our podcast, we talk about opportunities. By taking a first step, doors open. And it sounds like a very nice relationship that you created because you took the first step of becoming a writer. And then you found the gallery who's there to support people. So now hopefully you can support them back.
I was very fortunate that one of the people who was organizing it happens to be one of my super fans. He's also a writer, and he's a really good writer too, but he's just so supportive of everything that I do. And I think that's probably why I was the one asked to do the reading that night. But it was just, if you actually touch someone with your work, that in itself is just so amazing, and it just fuels you. And then you get someone who's in a position to showcase your work to other people. And I was like, man, I love this guy.
Yeah.
Super fans. I think that's something we could all aim to find.
I know my mentor says that if you get 1,000 super fans, you're set for life. And right now I have about 9, but I appreciate them so much.
Yeah,
and only one of them is my mother.
That's wonderful.
Right. Yeah. I've heard people talk about super fans like that, or a core audience, that if you have 1,000 true fans, then you can keep creating work and they will keep purchasing it and
supporting you.
Yeah. And supporting you. So that you really don't need to have 1 million followers on Instagram in order to be successful. It's 1,000 true fans is what you really need.
And I don't mean to say that I only have 9 fans, but
sure.
I have 9 who hardcore will buy or watch anything that I'm in or anything that I write.
Well, I want to talk more about writers' communities because I'm thinking maybe the person listening to the podcast right now is saying, gee, I never even thought about joining a local writers' community. How would you suggest that people find them?
Well, I would say right now you should capitalize on the virtual world. Henderson Writers Group has gone online, and you're welcome to join any of the meetings for free. If you want to read and have your work critiqued, then it's a $50 membership for 1 year. That also gives you a discount for the Las Vegas Writers Conference, which is, it's $149 if you're not a member. It's $99 if you are a member. And so that's that $50 right there. If you're in a big community where there's probably a writing group already, you could go on Meetup, search for writing groups there. If you're on Facebook, you can do searches for writing groups there. There's tons of writing groups on Facebook. If you want your work to be critiqued, I recommend you find someone you can interact with, share your work with. There are other groups that are going online. I'm just familiar with Henderson Writers Group, but I know that there are others that have opened up their doors to, national and international members just because, hey, if you can get there during the time that we're holding the meetings, you may as well enjoy what we have to offer, and then we get the benefit of hearing your stuff too.
So it's the same way in the podcasting world. I was a member of a meetup group before the pandemic, and now I've joined more meetup groups about podcasting because it's so easy to get to the meeting.
So I saw something that you're a beta reader?
Yes. That happened because so many people kept asking me to read their work, and I realized that I won't have time to work on my own things if I take on everyone's projects. But if you think I'm good enough at this that you think it's worth paying me to review it, then I will give you my time. And depends on whether you want a developmental edit, just a beta read, just to get initial thoughts. Do you want actual proofreading? There are all different types of review that someone could do. And that's how I got into that.
So we've brought up beta readers before, but it's always we're looking for beta readers, not we actually have a beta reader that we can ask questions to. So, so what do you recommend when somebody has their manuscript finished and they're looking for a beta reader? What do people do right and what do people do wrong from your standpoint?
The most common thing that they do wrong is that they put it out there too early. They haven't gone through and really reviewed it themselves and cleaned it up. And I'd say the thing that they do right is they show it to someone so that they can learn that. Not everyone starts in the same place. And if you don't know, the only way you're going to learn is that you do put yourself out there.
Right. So I imagine people are excited and I finally have it finished. Now will you read it when they should have gone over it and gone over it and gone over it and
yeah, your first draft should be between you and God. Nobody else should see it.
That's a good line.
Well, it must be a neat job to read the different creative ideas of others.
It really is, because sometimes you'll come across a line, you're like, oh, I wish I had thought of something like that. Or just these worlds that you would never have imagined.
Do you just interact through writing, or do you actually get on the phone and speak with your clients?
It's usually through email, because I will get a Word document and I will go through and mark and give them notes and then write an email as well. But sometimes I meet with them in person.
Oh, that
if
must
they're
be
here in town. I mean, that was obviously before the lockdown.
And it sounds like it's time consuming to look at a Word document.
It really is, it is. It's so time consuming. And that's why I had to start charging, because it's like, I would love to be able to help everyone who asked me to do this, but then I would never do my own writing.
Right. And then if you're looking at the Word document on a desktop or a laptop, then you're kind of limited as to where you can read.
People give me a PDF, and that's something I can put on a Kindle or, a Kindle app, something like that. It's not as easy to make notes on that.
Right. But you can have it with you wherever you are. Yeah. So there's a trade-off there. And I also read that you have a podcast too.
Yes, they pushed me into the world of podcasting last year.
Well, don't make it sound so bad.
Well, it's because I would never have even thought to do something like this on my own. And over the summer, they said, hey, lockdown's happening. Do you want to start co-hosting some of our shows? And that was just a gift to me, basically. They didn't need me for their show. So yeah, I co-hosted with them over and over again, met wonderful, amazing people, even made some friends just through the interview, people I'm still connected with and people I still talk to. And ultimately, because I was getting so much screen time, basically, it built my platform to the point where the blog that I was writing, last year, I did a blog that was offering weekly tips to improve intimacy for committed couples.
Okay.
It was called 52 Love. So 52 tips in 52 weeks. So now the 52 Love podcast explores one of those tips with a new guest each week. This happened because as a result of doing the blog and doing all these podcasts with them and just the other things that I do, I'm in the media because of Dime Grinds. I'm in the media because of Henderson Writers Group, and I'm in the media because of my acting career. So all of those things culminated in me having a big enough platform where a literary agent accepted 52 Love as a potential book.
Wow. There you go with the opportunities, right? I mean, you never know what is going to happen.
Yeah. In fact, that's what happened with the nonfiction book proposal. I wasn't ready to start querying it. I met someone at Las Vegas Writers Conference. She and I continued a relationship. She is a marketing and publishing guru. She's just amazing, but she became a literary agent last year. I asked for her help in putting together a proposal. I sent her what I had, and then she asked me to call her and then offered to represent me rather than preparing it for somebody else.
Wow, that is fantastic. That's a great story.
Since I already love her because I knew her already, I had developed a relationship with her, I couldn't think of anybody else I would rather have representing me than someone I already trust.
Yeah, that seems to be a big point right there that you just made. Someone that you trust, right?
Right. And that's because I showed her my work and because I put in the networking at the conference. I have to say that when I started at Henderson Writers Group, I'm not a very social person.
Oh, really? Oh, it sounds like
No, not at all.
Okay.
But this was the sacrifice I made for my art. I realized that I'm not going to grow hiding in the back of the room, not talking to anybody, which is how I started.
Well, it is hard. It's hard to put yourself out there.
Right. And so I would hide in the back of the room. I wouldn't I wouldn't offer anybody any feedback because I thought, who am I? I don't know what I'm talking about. My feedback isn't valuable. But now I'm to the point people pay me for my feedback.
Yeah, good job.
That doesn't mean it's any more valuable, but it feels like it is, But I learned from so many amazing people. It's not like I showed up with this knowledge. I listened to the people in the room. I listened to Gregory Compass. I listened to, the speakers that came in there and instructed our classes. I went to the conferences. I don't just go to Las Vegas Writers Conference. I help put that together now that I'm part of Henderson Writers Group's board. But before that, I was going to other conferences. I went to many conferences last year because it was so easy to do from home.
Yes.
You can just sign on and do it. And it makes me better able to serve my local community because I'm getting this information, from outside of our group. The big thing that helped tip my socialization, I really wanted to just stay in the back of the room hiding. But when Dime Grinds became available, when they were asking for someone to help do the scheduling and help put this together.
Okay.
I told you at the beginning of this, I am a scheduler. That this is a skill that I've had since I was a child. I wrote schedules for myself every day. I wrote them for my brother every day. I'm someone who gets things done. And, I sat there thinking, these people have been so wonderful and supportive of me. They've helped me so much. I should do something to give back to them. I don't have as much knowledge as they have, but this is a skill I have and I can provide that skill. And that opened up so many doors just stepping up and helping out with the group. I got to meet all of these amazing authors. I got to develop my social skills by interacting with people.
That's great. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And I didn't do it to help myself, but it still helped me.
Right. You were thinking of how you can help them because they were so nice to you. I think that's pretty nice.
And it should be a cycle like that. We should help each other. We're all better off for helping each other.
Definitely.
Well, Tanya, I understand you have a publicist, Bruce Wozniak. How does it work working with a publicist?
I don't know how it works for everybody, but with him, he is really responsive. He communicates with me and he cares about what my wishes are. He doesn't push me toward anything that I don't want to do, but he does push me. He nudges me toward where he thinks I should go, but he doesn't push me beyond my comfort level.
Good. So it sounds like, once again, someone you would feel comfortable working with.
Right. And he was another person I met through networking. The And I Thought ladies do a writing retreat in Las Vegas. They did it for 2 years in a row. But again, last year they weren't able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I met him there. And at the second one, he approached me about possibly representing me. And, we sat and we chatted and I thought it over. I don't jump into things. And he sold me. He sold me on the idea of him working for me. And I'm very happy with the job he's doing.
Okay, everyone is approaching you. This is wonderful. How many people can say this? Congratulations on having people approach you. That's excellent. Tell us a little bit more about the podcast and how they approached you.
I did that blog series last year, and now the 52 Love podcast will explore one of the tips from the blog from last year, but we do it with a new guest each week. I'm an author and an actress, and because of that, I encounter a variety of just amazing creatives in the literary and filmmaking worlds that I inhabit. And so when the gift of this podcast for the 52 Love series was given to me, I had a choice to make, right? Like I could spend 15 minutes telling you all about each week's suggestion, or I could bring in one of these wonderful creatives and introduce the public to them while showcasing that the tips were all different types of people.
Excellent.
So my goal is to feature a variety of interesting guests in committed relationships who are willing to share their experience with one of the tips, but also talk about their work.
Excellent. So you're looking for the guests and you're finding them?
Yeah. I mean, I just know so many people that it hasn't been a struggle. The biggest thing is just working everybody's schedules, because I have a producer helping me and he's doing the filming and the editing. So we need to make sure that his schedule lines up with my schedule, lines up with my guest schedule. Other than that, finding the people hasn't been the challenge. And the guests I've had so far have been just incredible.
Well, excellent. We'll have a link to that in our show notes.
Oh, thank you. And I should mention it's available on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and a few other regular spots.
Excellent. That's great. Well, Tanya, we like to ask authors, what's their advice for people who are putting together a book right now?
Learn as much as you can about the genre in which you'd like to write. practice it as much as possible, and then surround yourself with like-minded people who have similar goals so that they can help you on your journey, but also so you can help them with theirs.
Excellent.
Well, Tanya, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. It was very interesting hearing about your writing process, and congratulations
On all those adventures. Fantastic.
Thank you very much. I appreciate being here.
Well, Tanya was a wealth of knowledge, especially when it comes to talking about writers groups and finding a community. And if you have a community of friends who like to write, or maybe even enjoy a podcast, this would be a great podcast to share with them.
So until next time,
Write on.
Thank you for listening to the Author Inside You podcast with your host, Leah and Matt Rafferty.